different tack today and wanted to present a body of work that we're doing at the Queensland Centre for Intellectual and Developmental Disability. So I'll be racing through a few of our projects and talking about the centre in general. Some of the health promotion work we're doing. I just want to talk a little bit about the Walk and Talk project, which is the work that Katie Booker, our PhD student, has been heavily engaged in since her honours year. And this is a collaborative project with the Endeavour Foundation. So we actually have been working with Endeavour since the inception of this project. The idea is that, I suppose, people with intellectual disability, as we understand it, many of them do not have contact with people who aren't paid to have contact with them, and who experience substantial social isolation and loneliness, as well as poor physical health outcomes. So Walk and Talk is a program that pairs a community volunteer through Endeavour's volunteer program with a person with intellectual disability, and they walk around the natural neighbourhood for up to an hour every week. And we've just finished the 12-week pilot, and it's been a great administrative effort by Endeavour to get the program off the ground and to attract volunteers and to support those volunteers to work safely and to take people outside of the homes for a walk. And we've been doing the research around that. So we spoke to potential participants of Walk and Talk before the program got started to find out what they thought about walking and also what they thought a walking program should look like. So we talked to both people with intellectual disability and potential volunteers. And for the evaluation, Katie has gone on some walks with the walking pairs, and we've done a pre and post survey, which will follow up with some qualitative interviews as well. So before Walk and Talk was started, Katie's spoke to participants or potential participants of the program, just to find out how much walking they were doing and what they were thinking about walking itself, so that we could make some recommendations to Endeavour about how the program should actually be implemented. And the people we spoke to were really already doing a bit of walking. A lot of them were walking for transport, but also were walking to ease stress. And they were actually, the participants were quite health literate, actually. They knew what they had to do to be healthy. And so walking was part of that approach for them. So the prison research that we've been engaged in is based upon a randomized controlled trial of involving 7 prisons in Queensland. This is my PhD, it's blown out of my brain, so I sort of get the shakes talking about it.
Post-traumatic stress.
Post-traumatic stress. So this was of 1,300 soon-to-be released prisoners across Queensland, and we've ascertained that 9 to 10% of those probably have some form of intellectual disability, although that was through our own screening tool rather than what was being used by corrective services because they weren't screening. And Passports is an intervention based around the chat that was given to people upon release from prison to help them communicate their health needs and access health services post-release from prison. So perhaps unsurprisingly, we found that the 115 participants with intellectual disability had a higher prevalence of morbidity across mental and physical health, although they were less likely to receive preventative health care. Surprising to me was that this group reported higher prevalence of pre-incarceration and within prison risky substance use. So I'm talking about sharing used needles and equipment and injecting drug use. The difference wasn't significant, but the prevalence was higher. So we're really lucky to have follow-up data, 4 weeks, 3 months, and 6 months post-release, and we'll be engaging with that quantitative data to see how people fare following release from prison. So we've actually built a research agenda around asking people with intellectual disability and their families and carers what they expect from an e-health record, and how they would use that. And Nick has been in communication with some of the Doha representatives trying to advocate for an increased focus, particularly around the information that's communicated to people, and the registration process, which is quite complex. So we spoke to one young man who obviously had complex health information, but he moved, his doctor retired and took their health information with him, and he was quite upset that he no longer has access to that. One parent thought that we already had electronic health records and was surprised that this was a new thing. And for support workers, it was just really interesting to see the administrative burden experienced by residential support workers in relation to health information and how they have to navigate that. And I mean, I would just wonder about the complexities of an electronic health record. And again, we've written a 1.325 report around the findings of this. Basically trying to advocate that by making information clearer and easily understood for people with intellectual disability, we will be benefiting many other groups, particularly those groups who do experience lower literacy or the aging population. One of the key findings out of this was the work that carers and support workers go to make sure that individuals understand about the mail they receive, about their health information, and just the idea that having this complex system that's difficult to understand, people don't have time to be wading through this information, so we really have to be targeting information in a little bit clearer way. This is just a list of some of the other research that we're doing, and of course if you have any questions, you can talk to Lynn and I. Thank you.